go.
Well, welcome to Sears Red Club. I'm Kyle. I'm back. I've been gone for a couple weeks. If you've been watching this every week, you know. And excited to be back. Bethany's been covering, so it's been great. I've been kind of everywhere, Bethany. I've been to New York City. I've been to Houston. I've been to all over Texas. I took a Texas tour. And now I'm back. So I was
Well,
also in Ohio, but that's not exciting. So
it feels like the vacation, I say vacation, the vacation break was so long. And this time, like I actually took vacation, which I think I've always worked through the
yeah.
holidays. And this year, well, it's my son's last year, it's a senior year. So everything feels different. So we actually didn't. So I will tell you that being back, I think I've been back for like a week and a half. I feel so overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
Well, luckily, when it comes to the writing world, this is the slowest time of the year. So slow that my authors are all pulling their hair out because editors and publishers are extremely frustrating now. So, yeah. So it's been I get to deal with that because yeah, I've got a bunch of contracts in the works, and everybody's either on vacation. Everybody we need to finalize things is on vacation, or they're sick, or they've got someone dying. And so when that happens, it just pushes things a few days, a few days, a few days, which it worked out for me because I've been gone. So I'm like, well, it's not my fault. But that's the kind of the nature of the industry right now. But I got some big news about the industry. This is exciting news.
Let's hear it.
Uh,
We need some good news.
Barnes and Noble is going to open 30 new bookstores this year. That's
Yay.
huge. Being that as of 2020, everybody thought Barnes and Noble was the last year. They thought COVID was going to kill Barnes and Noble. It was already the 3 years before that. Everybody thought Barnes and Noble was going to go bankrupt and close. And now we are to the point Barnes and Noble is going to open 30 new stores. This is a massive change in the industry. And so I think it's a pretty big deal we should talk about at Sears Red Club. What does that mean? And what do you think when you hear that, Bethany? You know how bad it was for Barnes and Noble.
Well, actually, my first thought, honestly, was that I'm so glad because it seems like the bookstores have just been going away. There's not even one in my town. Like you have to drive, like not even a local bookstore. So the fact that the industry is doing well enough or has recovered enough where they can open stores again is a really big deal. And then Amazon had talked about doing bookstores. And I just think that Amazon, that's a whole different conversation, but I don't want them to have this monopoly on the book buyer. So I think Barnes and Noble coming in strong with more bookstores is going to be a good thing. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy about that because you and we've talked about this for 5 or 6 years, Kyle, even when I still was writing books and having them out, like how hard it was to get the shelf space because the competition was so fierce because so many stores had shut down that
Yep.
they were only putting in their megas, the mega bestsellers or ones they thought were going to just shoot off. So I think it's a good opportunity. What do you guys
Yeah.
think in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, tell us what you think about Barnes and Noble opening
Yeah.
more stores.
Well, it's good, right? But
Here's the
publishers publishers have not caught up with that kind of success yet. And I think that's where some of the issue is most of the publishers I've been working with have been laying off staff, just outright firing staff. And so there's this dichotomy right now. Books are still selling, but for whatever reason, publishers are thinning their staff. I don't know if it's economy. I'm kind of thinking it's just economy and the difficulty with profits and overhead in this expensive world. I mean, I just think about here locally, utilities cost twice what they did a year and a half ago. So when you have these big buildings, these big superstructures, I mean, I went to Simon & Schuster's building while I was in New York. I went to Penguin's, Penguin Random House. I mean, we got to see these awesome structures, but they cost. And so a lot of companies have been thinning their staff, but not cutting production, which is normally what happens. But production has stayed high. And so I think that's why it's so hard for me to get any answers about anything right now for these contracts. Is I got at one house, which is part of Hachette, they had 5 editors. Now they have 1. They fired 4. They didn't cut any production. They're still doing all the work for hires. They still have these huge global megastar authors that they're working with and we're ghostwriting for. But we can't even get a contract. And I can't even get a contract from an author. The book is due Monday. So my author's like, do I turn this in? Like, they keep promising a contract, been promising it for 6 weeks. And all we hear is they're overwhelmed. So I think it's a really great news about the bookstores. And I think it'll catch up to publishers. I think we're just in a world of inflation right now. And
Yeah.
so for writers, just keep writing. There's going to be opportunities to sell books. Readers are reading like crazy right now. Books are coming out and doing well. So I think it's an exciting thing to be able to tell writers, because the industry goes up and down. And so we're in a good season right now.
Well, and while we're in a good season, I do want to give a shout out because our friend, Victoria Durastock, has in-game books, which some of you in the club are in-game authors, and that she's on the cover of Publishers Weekly and had books mentioned in a couple of spreads that they were sharing on Facebook. So if you are one of those authors, congratulations. We're so excited for you.
That's
and
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Hopefully that'll bring in some extra like new eyes for your book, and we think that's great. So I wanted to give that shout out. I saw it last night, so got friends and clients in there.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, I can give you an update on some of the things that are going on kind of in my neck of the woods. We've been talking to some publishers. I just had a long conversation with a publisher yesterday at a big house about writers conferences. So I probably should share that information, and it's probably not going to be exciting information. So this editor basically said, I said, are you going to any conferences this year? What's your philosophy? And this is somebody who went to a lot of conferences pre-COVID and has gone to a good number each year. And her response was, I've really pulled back. I think she's doing 2 writers conferences this year and then helping at one in her local town. She's from Chicago. And so other than that, she's not going to do anymore. And she had normally went to a dozen or more a year. And the reason being, they're just not finding a lot of good submissions coming through the writers conferences. And so that's, I think, why it's so important for people to recognize, like, I think now in this day and age, Bethany, for people to spend their money wisely is to get the training and to go and get direct connections with editors and agents. I mean, it's becoming an agent-run game in the industry now. Like, you got to have an agent who has relationships. And I know we have a lot of Christian market authors. The door was much more open when conferences had a lot of editors at it. But it's much more closed now, and agents are kind of the gatekeepers and becoming more so than they've ever been that I've seen so far. You can still get in, but your best bet is to really work to connect with those agents, and you can do that offline. You can, what I've seen lately that it's necessary is growing your ability to sell books, and spending the same kind of money people are spending on conferences, going out and growing platform, learning how to market books, putting that into marketing. If you already have a book out, the $1,200 spent for a conference can be easily spent to sell a book and push a lot of sales, which could be transformative in someone's opportunity to get into a agency that can help them get contracts. So I was surprised by her response. They are going to a lot of industry conferences, but they're like where they can be in-game sell books, not acquire new books. And so they're not going to any writing conferences to acquire new talent for the most part, except for those 2 or 3. So I thought that was a big news. I mean, we are 2 people who met at writers conferences. We love them, but the feedback is just editors aren't going, and people keep telling me, should I go to this conference? Should I go to this conference? And my thoughts are, if you can't make the relationships, this is a relationship business right now more than it's ever been. That is all that matters for conferences in 2024, is go where you can create a relationship. And if you can't create a relationship with people who are going to buy your books or sell your books, then you really need to think long and hard about, is that money worth it? Or is there a better way to spend that money right now in 2024 to help move you forward in your writer career?
I think there's so many virtual opportunities that weren't around. Like when we met at conferences, that was
so many.
the big thing, but the pandemic really changed that, where so many people moved over onto virtual learning. And I mean, think about how many pitch events like it just happened on Twitter. I mean, once I kind of jumped headfirst over there, Kyle, that's when we were like, okay, this is a much better platform for people because they get access to editors that, we might not be able to put them in front of. That's why we've been, pushing that, is because that network is already happening there. We want you guys to be able to do that. So yeah, I think the training is important. I think I've noticed too with writers conferences, it seems to it seems to be a lot of new writers and who are eager to learn, but you make such good
That's kind of the
connections.
feedback
Yeah.
is it's so many new authors now. The level of quality, like per capita, has definitely decreased, which
Quality of
is where
what?
the value is found from. I mean, the editor I talked to used to go and try to acquire people from conferences. Now it's more so I'm doing this as a favor to the community, and I just can't afford more than this number of times to go do a favor. And that's, I think, where if you're an author, even if you are a really great author, you're going to be lumped in at those conferences with the belief that the people that are submitting are lower level writers, and you don't necessarily want to have that kind of commitment. Now, there are conferences that offer a higher quality or a more specific genre nature. Like there is Killer Nashville if you're like a thriller writer. That one's not a bad one to go to because it's so specific to a very niche market. But if we're talking the big general conferences that are for every genre, those are the ones that I'm seeing that editors and agents are trying to figure out if it's worth it for them moving
I know
forward.
for the general market, um the Writers Day workshops, I'm doing a DC one in March. I'm super excited about that, but it seems that it really, like you were mentioning, that it's really agent focused. So not so much bringing in the editors, but bringing in the agents who then have the connections to the editors for those pitch events. This will be my first time doing a general market conference like that, but you've done several, and it does vary. So real quick, because I know we've got a couple of things we want to talk about too, but can you you've been to both, you've been to the Christian writers conferences, but you've also done the general market. Can you just share a couple of differences that you see in the two?
um I think that they're different focuses.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in the 1 day conferences, they're pay to play. I mean, they are pay to play. You know this. You get to have your meetings with agents and editors by paying for them, but you get to have them, and you get to pick who you want to have for the most part. If you want to meet with Bethany and Jet, you get to pay a fee to the conference, and they'll book you a time with her. Most of those conferences, we don't get paid that fee. That's how they earn money as a conference. We go kind of as a favor to them for that. But that's how you kind of determine, like, I can go meet with these 5 people because I'm willing to pay for it. But those conferences range anywhere from a couple $100 for a day, and then you pay your additional fees. So for $500, you can meet with a handful of agents and editors, and you don't have the risk of having 500, 300 people that you have to fight through because you get those limited spots. I think that is more valuable. Those are definitely more of a general market style conference because you know you're going to lock in time and you're paying for it. And when we go to those conferences, I don't treat people any different when I go and meet with people at a general market conference, at a Christian market conference, whether they had to pay for that specific spot or it was just they got a random selection. They got to choose who they might want and they get to sign. I think I'm always looking for great writing. So if you believe in your writing and you're at a point where you're ready to sell and your writing is up to that caliber, taking that time to invest and getting in front of the right people at the right event, and following these agents and editors, they tell you where they're going. I mean, Bethany will post on social media where she's going. So like you can know where to find her. Right? And you just need to sign up and get to that event. I think that's so much more worth doing, especially like I know you love doing like the Twitter pitches and those type of things,
Mm-hmm.
and X pitches, whatever they are now. Um,
Twitter forever.
yeah, Twitter forever. But like those are opportunities and those are free,
Mm-hmm.
but you can try to get those in front of the people that you want to um, pitch to. So I think just taking a little bit more time for authors in 2024 and utilizing the way things used to be pre-COVID, they're really different now. And I
Mm-hmm.
know we keep saying this. I feel like I'm beating this drum, and I know not everybody wants to hear it. But if you think that the industry is moving and operating the way it used to, you're going to miss great opportunities that you can really get for free. Like I know you've been really passionate about the Twitter pitches. It
Yeah.
is a free way to get in front of people that you want to pitch to. And they always tell you generally what agents and editors are committed to be watching those pitches, hashtags. So if you want Kyle Young to look at your stuff, then participate in a Twitter pitch that Kyle Young's, participating in. And then, that's a way to do it. And it's free. And those are things that I think authors are missing out on, because the old model was go to a conference, meet with an editor, and pitch, or an agent, and it's just not, that's not the way anymore. The new way is to get in front of people virtually, get in front of people through Twitter or X or whatever, Instagram, and make sure that you are connecting with agents, I think, more so than ever before. And agents are still looking for great stuff. I mean, I'm selling a lot of stuff right now. It's just the stuff I'm selling is by people who can sell books. I mean, like it or not, if they can sell books, I have companies begging me to get a book with one of my authors who is selling, and it's not hard to sell. I mean, we have another book deal with an author I'm just selling 14, maybe 15 books for, and there's another one, and they're like, a company is getting into the business just to try to get this person to write a book for them, and it's a lot easier because they know that this person's a guaranteed 3,000 sales a year on their own, not counting what they can do through distribution. And so when you get to that point, it opens up the doors for you. And so selling is the key in 2024. If you can move copies of books, you are gold to these publishers, and they're going to make a lot of money on you. And that becomes where it becomes the difficulty. Do you make the money on your own, or do you make the money with the publisher? And there's a strategy to why. Yeah.
I think that's one thing we're very focused on, is no matter how you're publishing, making sure that you can move the books, because that just puts you in such a better position. Circling back to what you said at the beginning, if you can show, like we kind of talked about last week, so check that replay if you missed it. We talked about how to set yourself apart if you're a debut in your category, but it's attractive to agents, it's attractive to editors when they can see that you are doing things on your own already before the book is out, and they can come alongside and partner with you. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on too. We are going to have a tutorial. I have to figure this out still. I'm going to try to work on it today and tomorrow, but we'll have that tutorial on how to do, like on Instagram, we talked about how to do, like, you've seen it on Instagram if you've been on there, where they'll say, comment Kyle, and I'll send you the link to all of my freebie things or my Amazon store or whatever. And that you can set up in Meta on your business suite. Facebook business suite is where that is. So some of you may already have that done, but that's something I know I want to set up, which might be a great thing, which leads into, Kyle, something I had mentioned to you earlier today is, as you're thinking through your social media strategy, we really need to make sure we're focusing on the buyer, the book buyer, and your reader, and not so much on other writers. And that can be such a hard transition when you're moving into the writing space. Don't you agree?
I do. Yeah, I do.
We had a couple of comments I wanted to make sure we got to. Melissa said virtual conferences have been a great option, and I totally agree with that. As an attendee and as somebody who speaks,
they're harder to find. I think that's the thing. Virtual conferences are harder to find unless you're following along. And like if I'm participating in a virtual conference, I don't necessarily always post it, because I just don't think about it. I mean, because usually I don't remember that I'm doing it until they send an email. Hey, you're doing this weekend. Oh yeah. But like, if you're following along with the groups that host them, you're going to get their emails. And so that's key. Follow along search for virtual writer conferences, and then just follow the people who are running them. You're going to get all the information to do it. And I just got invited to 2 conferences this week to speak. And I haven't gone to conferences in a while. And that's why I asked the editor yesterday at the large publishing house, like, do you even feel it's worth it to go at this point? And their response was, not really, but I do like to go to these places because I like to go out there and vacation and see people. And the one, she's like, I just go to this one writers conference because I have agents and authors that live in that city. And it's a good way for me to go at no cost to my company to go out and see them. And all I got to do is take some appointments. So unfortunately, that is the reality of some of the industry. Now, not every agent editor is like that, but a lot of them are. And, so we just have to be aware. I actually think I'm trying to go to the one. It's on Palm Sunday though, and it's killing me because I really want to go out there. I've never been to it, but so that's the thing. And I just got invited to one actually like 15 minutes before we got on this, which is one I really would like to go to. So in person. So I think I'm going to go to a few this year, but the one I'm really excited about is actually a genre specific one. So
Ooh, can you
And
share or do we
so
need to wait?
yeah, I mean it's Killer Nashville. So
Oh,
I
you
mean
are going to Killer Nashville.
Killer Nashville, I know I'm gonna find some good genre writers because I know that's just it's very niche. And I think the niche ones, people pay more to go to those.
Mhm.
And generally when they're paying more and it's niche down, that's all they write. They don't write. I won't sit down with somebody who's going to tell me I write 15 genres like I do.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, this is all I write. This is all I read. This is what I love. And that's going to help. So that's an important part of getting those contracts, is just knowing that you live and breathe what you write.
For those of you who are in the Tennessee area, I'll be at Mid South this year. So it's been a while since I've been back to that one. And the DC writers and Blue Ridge. I'll be at Blue Ridge this year. And then we have our September conference, which got postponed last year. We'll be in North Carolina in September, and we'll have tickets going on sale pretty soon. And you guys will get first access and a discount to that because we keep it small, and really focus on the training and doing those intensives, which we love to do. And we've had some really great success stories. Not that we were responsible for that, but like after the events and things, people went back and were working more on marketing and stuff, and then had some really great successes. We were really proud about that. Sandra said when she attended a conference in 2014, there were lots of opportunities for editors, but then very few coming. So she's agreeing with seeing a decline in the agents and editors that are coming to some of the conferences.
Yeah, I mean, there's a conference you're going to, Bethany, that they haven't posted the faculty yet, and it's 4 months away. And the reason is they're not getting editors.
Yeah.
Because I know the editors are turning them down, and they're like,
it's hard.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so it's all about money for these editors. Like how much budget do I have? How much time can I take off? And like, for example, Worthy, has got 20% of the staff they used to have doing the same amount of work. They're not going to send an editor out to a conference this year. It's not happening. And that's one that a lot of people would like to work with. So that's happened to a lot of publishers. So you have to pick and choose. And I would make your choices based on who the faculty are. I know I say that a lot, and that means I get invited less conferences because I said that. But that's one of the reasons why we've transitioned what we do as a conference, because we know where the value is that we need to offer is not necessary in trying to bring editors who are not going to purchase books. Like, I don't want to bring an editor who I know is not going to purchase a book to a conference just so people will pay to come to conference. I feel that's disingenuous.
Right.
That's why we changed it. Like, I sit with these editors and I sit with these agents and they say, I'll acquire 2 people this year. I'm going to 15 conferences. They're not going to acquire anybody's books. They're not going to represent anyone. They're there because it's a paycheck. And so that's why we changed the way we do things. And I think it's important to know that, like, for our people who the Serious Writer Club is like home, like, I don't want to see people go out and spend $1,000 on an event where most of the people sitting across the table are not there to actually acquire a project. I'd rather give them the skills and tools necessary through offering what we offer with an intensive, so they can go out and get contracts. And the great thing is our intensives, like, people have got a lot of contracts. And it's not because we had authors, editors, and agents there. We had literally, they learned what they needed to learn. They went out and got contracts, and now they're published. And like, I was excited to see Jim Magruder's book come out, and like all these others. And it's been fun. And I think that's the difference, is we want to see that happen. And so, yeah.
You guys work really hard, and we love to watch your journeys as you go through this writing world. It's because it's hard. This is not easy. And sometimes I'm like, why do we even do this to ourselves? It's all rejection all the time, with like this one little glimmer of like positive news. I think you always know when I have got something fun to say, because I think my text to you is Kyle, like in all caps, with like 600 exclamation points. And it's like, I have, but it's not very often. It's mostly sadness. But so we got to celebrate the wins here. Melissa said that she sells more books at vendor events than on Amazon, which is awesome, Melissa, and that she's recognizing the community and those books are selling. And I think that just goes back to the community aspect too, about really understanding who your buyer is and who your reader is, and then showing up in the spaces where they are. That's really what's super important. Any other news, Kyle? Because it feels like I haven't seen you in forever.
I mean, it feels like I've been everywhere. So I can give some. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with editors lately, so I can give some quick tips. Book talk is the topic of every editor. So that is book talk. Book talk is taking books and just throwing them to the moon. So, and Book Talk is just TikTok where they talk about books. Like, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with editors in the last 2 weeks. And I've been traveling most of the time. So, and it's been Book Talk. Yeah, there's Book Talk. We got on Book Talk, and it just keeps coming up in conversations. That's where they're living. That's where they're breathing. And if you can figure out how to get a following on Book Talk, to the point of the people in my own life, I had an employee tell me yesterday, like, yeah, I saw that book on Book Talk and I read it. I don't like that kind of thing, but I saw it. It's going, and yeah, they're going gangbusters. And that is the key. I mean, it's like a dead horse we beat, I know. But when every conversation I have with editor is mentioning Book Talk, talking about Book Talk, talking about how they want my authors to do more on it, how they told me they found a book on Book Talk and signed that author to a new book. Like, I mean, it was Instagram a few years ago, right? Maybe 5 years ago, pre-COVID. Now it's TikTok. And yeah, there's some exciting things you can do in there. And part of it, I think this leads into what you want to talk about. It's not about, we don't talk about your books. I think that's the key. The people that are blowing up are not talking about their book. They're telling story. That's the difference. Readers want to read stories. Writers want to talk about themselves and their project, right? I feel like that's, even though we're great with story, we are terrible about pitching story to people. Like, it's like, oh, okay, buy my book. I look at it. It's got a pretty cover. All they're doing in Book Talk is just telling the story, taking bits and pieces of the story. They're reading it. They're saying, if you are like this, then read, and they just read it. And people are they're just gravitating to it because it's creating an emotional connection with readers. And then as soon as you get me as a reader emotionally attached, I'm gonna buy your book. It's simple. I almost bought a poetry book the other day.
Oh, I have a poetry guy that I follow on Instagram.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, and I love poetry. That was my major in college before I switched it. So I was like, genius. This was a genius video. I love it. I'm probably doing it too. So because I love poetry. So I got poetry. So I think that you were talking about this with me for this call. You were talking about how the way to market now is not the way it used to be. And I think you can speak into this. Like, this is one of the things we've been seeing. Marketing has to become emotionally resonating with people. It cannot just be, hey, here's a product, go buy it.
Okay, yeah, no, that's exactly it. So one of my
yes.
I thought you were gonna keep going. I was like, I didn't want to step on that. That was good. No, it is. It's really about bringing people into your journey. And if you do go to TikTok and go and search the hashtag Book Talk, that's probably the best place to start your rabbit trail to find the creators in your genre and your space who are doing this well. But it very much seems to be coming from readers who are sharing books that they love, and then their fans are picking up books by those authors. And so the trick as the author is to mimic what the readers are doing in the same space. So really leaning into your genre and the way that you're writing. And I have a marketing client. She's not one of my literary clients, but we had our weekly meeting this morning, and we we're going through, she's using it on Instagram. This can work on TikTok too, and talking about how she's trying to get her nonfiction message across. And what she's been doing very consistently is doing these little small videos where she's sharing things that have happened kind of throughout the day that are sprinkled in the ones that are more brand message. And Kyle, she shared something personal with people, and it resonated. I mean, people were commenting and sharing. And so then we were talking today about I said, I think you should do a third video. I think you should follow up. I said, I remember the one that you did. I saw it. Follow up on that and say, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I can do. And then you can tie it into a concept in your book. Because again, she's writing nonfiction, but it's not going to feel forced. And people want to know what's going to happen because that happened. And I think people are getting so much better at telling story through the different mediums, through Facebook, through Instagram, through video and audio and things. And one thing I wanted to mention, because we're going to deep dive into this, faceless accounts. I'm seeing so much people talking about how to do faceless video, faceless YouTube, faceless Instagram. And I think that's perfect for the writing community, because if you're showcasing books, you don't really have to show your face.
Nope.
And most of them don't. Honestly, a lot of them don't, which is really, really great. I did want to say something real quick. I know we're kind of getting close to time. If you're concerned about safety issues on TikTok, I actually canceled my TikTok account several months ago, and I will restart one. But here's what I'm going to do. So this is just like my tip for you if you're like kind of concerned about what's going on in the TikTok space. I am going to be using a phone that's not connected to anything else. It will only be, so it's not gonna be my regular phone. I'm gonna have a
You can
second
do it
phone.
from a website now.
But
You don't have to have on your phone anymore. You can just you can do it on a website now.
I don't want to attach to anything because of the,
Yeah.
so the only thing that device will be used for is for recording and editing and uploading TikTok.
Yeah. But you can, I mean, you can
Nothing
do it
else.
on an iPad that's just only used for that.
Right.
You can get an old device. You could buy a device for $50 online, an old phone, and use, I mean, do TikTok. It's so easy to edit. Like, and you could have that not connected to any of your regular passwords. You could get a Gmail account that's just for that. I mean,
Right.
there's so many ways to insulate, but like that is the market. And it's not like there's no new social media platforms. Although X might be, Mr. Beast is trying to prove that X is a viable place.
Mr. Beast
And
loves being over there.
yeah, he's trying to prove that X is a viable place for marketing and for growth. And so there's a potential there, but I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
Do you know what I
But
just saw? Is the TikTok store. So I was watching a YouTube video on like finding Amazon deals, and I was kind of binge watching some of those. And she does this Amazon review and a TikTok review of the same product, like price and all of this. And she was saying that the TikTok store is so cheap compared to Amazon right now. And she thinks it's because they're doing losses right now to drive traffic over to a TikTok store to take business from Amazon. 2-day shipping, everything comes like faster than Amazon sometimes. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. TikTok has really positioned themselves in the market, especially with the books, to be a competitor to Amazon. Like
right.
I mean, how long have we thought there's no one who's going to be able to ever take a bulk of that market share, but they might be able to do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the case. So people got to be aware, but it's got to be emotional. Like you can't sell a product. Even when I want to buy something, I almost bought something this morning. I was laying in bed. I was like, I'm gonna buy that. It's awesome. I found out it was like $120. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna buy that. But because I thought it was cheaper. But it was a gimbal device for your phone, and I have one. I have two. But it was one that like auto tracks. But the video wasn't the person selling me. The video, there was a person using it and having fun with it. I'm like, that looks awesome. And because they did it in a different way, it was more engaging. It wasn't a product sell. I was like, I need one of those. Glad I didn't buy it. My wife would have killed me. But like, that's what's happening. And people are doing that with books by finding ways to resonate the story with the reader and get them emotionally connected and attached. And I think that's where, if anything can be takeaway from this day today, is you've got to find a way to emotionally connect your blog posts, your social media post, your elevator pitches. Even if you go to, like, when people sit down with me and say, my book is this is the main character of my book is about this, I'm not resonating. When you grab my heart, when you grab my mind, when you grab my interest, that's when I care about story. Like, and so I think that's like how to tell your pitch for your book in a way that grabs emotion. That's the key. And we all have the same felt needs. That's the easy thing about this. We all have the same felt needs as humans. So if you can speak to a felt need, speak to a desire, speak to a want, speak to a yearning, then that's how you're going to get people to be interested in what you're offering. And so, I think that's the key. And we can give we can do some examples of this.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to write a Michigan football poetry book and sell it. So.
You should. That would be great.
I got a great idea. I was in the shower today. I was like, I got a great idea. I'm going to do it. I like to prove what I say. And we did that when I grew like almost 800,000 followers. Like these things can be done. You can do this stuff. And so I think I'm going to go prove that you can do this. And I'll show you how.
My social media encouragement for you guys today, my challenge is something that I heard today as I was going through Instagram, and comes from a guy who talks to Instagram all the time, and our friend Brock Johnson, who's not really our friend, but I feel like he is because I follow him a lot. He was talking about how reels and posts and carousels are not your most viewed area on Instagram, which you may have noticed that it seems to pivot sometimes, but stories are, and that there's more views in stories than on the feed or that shows up in the reels. So if you are not yet using or utilizing stories as part of your Instagram, my encouragement to you is to start. And even if you're only doing 3 posts in your stories, that's enough. One is just like, okay, that was fine. But if you can have 3 at least, that's a good thing. And this is the behind the scenes. And this is a way for you to get very comfortable being personal on social media, like Kyle was talking about. Because here, the first picture you can take is you can take a screenshot of us on this call and like, oh, I'm in my, Serious Writer Club training. I'm not trying to like do like a thing for us, but like you could do that. Or you could, when you're sitting down to do marketing or to write, or if you're taking a break from writing, just snap a photo of whatever you're doing and pull people into this world and into this space with you, because you can do so much in your stories. You can link, you can tag.
Here's why. Okay, because people want to know. People are just like, I tried it for a week, it didn't work.
You got to do it for longer though.
Here's the thing: when you take medicine, for the most part, like vitamins, let's go vitamins. Vitamins don't work for you the first day you take them. They don't work for you the second day. They don't work for you the third day. You have to take them over an extended period of time for it to actually do anything. It's the absorption over time. Like I had my doctor tell me this. It's like, oh, you got the vitamin D deficiency. So like I was just like a tick too low. So like I start taking vitamin D. And so I called my brother, who's a physician assistant. He's like, you got to take this for like a month before you're going to see any noticeable change. And then keep taking it. And I think that's what it is on social media. And if you want to see a noticeable change, you have to do it for a month and then keep doing it. Because what happens is the algorithm needs time to find engagement working for you, and then you more and more engaging. So it's little slivers of change. So if you just do it for a week, do it for 2 weeks, do it for 3 weeks, you're like, oh, I'm done. I think you need to commit to like 90 days because it's that time, and you have to do it as consistently as you're saying. Because if you just do it once every week for 90 days, then nothing's going to change. If you're doing it every time someone likes your post, watches your video, it gives you engagement. You want to pump that engagement as high as you can by having more posts. And the problem is people just usually give up before it's too. I mean, that's what I proved back in 2020 was like, if we just do it. It took me 3 months for my platform to take off. 3 months of every day, 4 hours a day, streaming with my son, making videos constantly every day, making TikTok videos. But I started in August. In November, I exploded. And so it was like you're priming the pump. So, and you just got to keep priming, and eventually it'll take off. And the lady that wrote The Fourth Wing, Rebecca Yarros, who's like everybody's reading her book right now.
Everybody is reading this book right now.
On social media. I looked at her social media post. She just took off one day and she was a good writer. She was a USA Today bestselling writer before she wrote Fourth, which is now a New York Times bestseller. She did not have a lot of followers back in May. She was just cranking out a couple hundred views a video. And then one of the videos took off and people started reading her book, and her whole career changed. But she'd been posting for a year before that first video hit. And so if you don't keep going and you give up, you're just not gonna see the success. So
that's super interesting. And one thing too, I want to encourage you, going back to Bookstagram, but your videos can be on both TikTok and Instagram. But I have been watching, so in my explore page, the reels that pop up, they will take a picture of their account like from 3 months ago with the followers, and it's real small because they started a Bookstagram account where they're just solely focused on books. And then like 3 months later, they're like, it's like sometimes it's in the tens, a couple of them have been the hundreds of thousands. They grew so fast because people are really loving and seeking out this kind of content. It feels like it's hit in a big way on these platforms. Mm-hmm. And so this is the time to jump in on it because everyone's looking for this, and you'll start showing up in people's explore pages, which is what you want. That's really where I focus my time on Instagram. I don't scroll my feed. I go to the explore and I start scrolling through reels that the algorithm is pushing to me. So that's where you want to be. And they can be just save. Here's the last thing for me. When you're on Instagram, because Kyle is so much better at TikTok than I am. I'm not your person for that. But on Instagram, when you see a reel, like a Bookstagram reel, so try to watch a lot of those, you can click on the bottom of the reel. There's 3 dots, which is the menu bar. Click on that and you can save it. If you just click save, it's going to save it to like a whole entire thing. You don't want that. You want to save it into a collection, which is just a folder, and you're going to call it Reels to Do. That's what I call it. And so then anytime where I'm like, okay, I need to do a video, you can just go to your saved folder called Reels to Do. The sound is there, and you can just say, okay, this one is, she's just throwing 3 books onto the desk. I can do that.
Right.
And then you can crank out videos really, really fast because you have them saved in a place to get to easily. That is my suggestion. Start watching Bookstagram Reels, start moving your account in that direction. And if you're already there, double down and do more.
Right.
Do more in 24. That's our slow.
Yeah. I mean, and the key is read what's popular now. And then you got to write that way. Like, I mean, I'm about ready to go back through my whole entire series of books and make them first person. I'm like this close because first person YA is now the majority.
Yeah.
So third person still gets published. You know, you got Sarah Moss and some of these. But like Harry Potter's third person, but like the majority right now is YA, and I know why it's YA. This probably sound bad, but the capability of young readers is diminished from previous generations.
That's a fact, actually.
It's a fact. Yeah, they're not as complex. They can't understand as complex things. I think their person can be a little bit more complex for readers. When you're in someone's head, and I know this because my son said, I had my kids watch Ender's Game, which is one of my 2 favorite books, Jurassic Park and Ender's Game. It's a sci-fi
Ender's
book.
Game.
It's the most famous, by far the most high-selling science fiction book. It's by Orson Scott Card. I love him, and I met him, and
I know.
Bethany was there. So I bought them the graphic audio version, which is like an old audio teleplay from like the back in the old times. Like every voice is a different character. They have emotions. It's like you're watching the movies on the other room, but you can't see the screen. And it's fantastic. My kids hated it. And I'm like, why do you guys hate it? It's awesome. And they're like, because I can't hear their internal monologue. My kids today are not as adept emotionally as we were. And all the writing's in first person. So they need the character to tell them how they're feeling, because they don't associate the same way we did with feelings. They don't read someone's emotions. Like if I take a book and I write like, I got my emotion thesauruses out and stuff. I got my romance writer's phrase book. And if I'll say things like she felt her temper rise in response, they want the character to think I was angry. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't connect as much. I know somebody's gonna tell me in the comments, like, you're wrong. Like kids are emotionally adept. Now they're not as adept. And so my kids I had to buy the same book again on Audible in the just one reader reading the whole thing in first person, because my kids they wanted the inner monologue. It takes twice as long to get through the book, but they don't care. My son has just bought the 3rd book. This has been 2 days later. He listened to the book yesterday morning, bought one in the afternoon, finished it this morning, and now he's on the 3rd. These are 12-hour reads. It's the Ender Game series. But like he wants the monologue. He's got to have the inner monologue. And yeah, those are 3rd-person books, but you get the inner monologue in italics back in the 80s when they were written. And so that's what they want. And I think when writers, if you're not paying attention to what's happening in your genre, like they're drastically changing. Drastically. I picked up a writer's book the other day that was middle grade, and I'm like, it's a very successful million-selling series. Bethany, it's got a bunch of to be verbs and ings in the first line. So, and I was like, this is everything I tell my writers not to do. And it's a little dated of a book, but it's first person, and that readers they get away with it. So you just have to be aware. No, Ender's Game, not Hunger's Game. Sorry.
Did I spell it right in the chat? Is it have an apostrophe?
Ender's Game, yeah, it's good. And so those are the things you have to be aware of. Like there is a drastic change. I mean, I recognize this. Like if I want, I can still do 3rd person, which I'm fine, but I may actually just go back because I'm gonna rewrite my book anyways. I may go back and just change it all to first person, not because it changes the book, but it'll be more palpable potentially for the YA readers I want to read it. I
have a client I signed in YA. It's incredible. She wrote it in 3rd person. I signed it on third person. We're doing edits, but she went back and said, I'm going to try to rewrite. We're having trouble with the opening. And so she rewrote the first 3 chapters in first person. I literally like
It changes it.
gasped.
I took 3 paragraphs last night and put it in ChatGPT and said, change this to first person. Because all it does is it changes the verbs.
Oh,
It didn't
that's
change it in my
nice.
writing.
Take you forever.
Well, I don't want to put it all in there because like then they have access to my book.
Yeah.
But I'm like, do I want to do this? I want to see it before. And I read the 3 paragraphs and went, oh, that's better. And all it did was change he to I. It took the other name out of the character and put my. But it made a perfect transfer to first person, and like it was the exact same words other than the pronouns were changed and the name. And I'm like, yeah, I think I like it. I think I can leave it third person because I literally have written 250,000 words in third person. But so it's going to take a long time. But I'm on the verge. There are AI programs that will change it in an instant, and it's perfect.
Really?
The problem is when you do that, you give those AIs they feed on your book. So now there's a risk that your book will come through and be utilized in other people's outputs. So that's where I'm going to have to go do the long, hard work myself if I really want to do it.
Yeah. Well, it might be a good thing. I'm telling you, her book leveled up. I was like, this is, I mean, it was already good. It is beyond at this point. Like the sellability of this is going to, it just improved it infinitesimally. I thought I'd try that word out.
Infinitesimally.
I know there's a T, but I'm not sure where it's at. Oh man, probably good to close on that.
But I mean, I think that's where you have to go read the writing, and you got to read what's coming out now. I mean, writing's different. It just is.
That's why the comps are important for the last 3 to 5 years. That's why we keep saying you have to look at the stuff that's been released for just exactly this reason.
Yep. I mean, romance stories are way different than they used to be. Way different. So, like, if you're not careful, what you're writing, you don't know what the industry's purchasing, and so you have to be very careful about just the characters, the relationship, POVs. In my genre, like female POVs, like number one. Mine's a male POV. I'm not changing it, but like that's the nature of what's really popular at the moment. So, and I just happen to be writing a genre that is super popular and right now, and so I'm gonna get my stuff out. But so yeah, that's the nature. Just read more, and then see how your book fits into that.
And share those books on your social media because then you will pull in the readers. Yep. That was a lot.
Yeah, we went long. I'm sorry.
No, I thought it was good.
I've not been here.
It makes me see.
I don't know if people are just sitting there like, oh, this guy won't stop talking. Yeah.
Well, now that Kyle's back, we will have our monthly challenge, which is basically, I think we kind of like talked about it before. We want to make sure you guys in December, we're working on your magazine and podcast interview lists. And we want you to be working on a book themed social media platform. And that makes sense when an editor is looking at your stuff and deep diving into how to do some of those things. And also, I was telling Kyle about our Create With Me that we did at the first. We're going to be doing more of those types of videos and showcasing. I think last week we talked about doing one showing how to put text on top of a reel to make a title. So it just pops in for just a teeny second and then it disappears. And that's something I could do a screen grab on my phone to do. So we've got lots of those things that are going to be coming out. We've been planning out 24. So thanks for being with us. And Kyle, I'll let you have final words because it's your first time back.
Well, just I'm crossing my fingers. I'm getting a lot of contracts today. So I got one yesterday. I got to negotiate it. This was from HarperCollins. Yay. And I'm waiting on 12 books deal today. I was told yesterday by the editor I would have it. This is the one I've been waiting on. I've been working on this. I've been working on this since, how long have I been talking about this at Serious Writer Club? Like 2 months at least.
Oh, I was like there's
at least 2 months. I mean, actually, we've been working on this contract since June. Yes, June. We've been working on 8 books since June. We added 4 more books into it along the way, and we may do 2 more. But this is how long it's taking to get from June to now. And I was promised contracts the last 2 months, like every week. And this is this is what's happening in the industry right now. This is every editor relationship I have is they don't have any information, so they just dodge me.
I'm
And
being
then
ghosted too.
like being ghosted by everybody because they don't have anything. They're overworked. Nobody's in the office. They're not having meetings. I get it, but like it's driving my authors nuts. And so we're almost to these contracts. She said last night, I maybe have it today or tomorrow. So it didn't come yesterday, but hopefully today. So 12 book deal, which will make
That's exciting.
happy and my author very happy. So
And then
and then we're gonna hopefully do more.
You're having me
What's that?
negotiate a contract later today too.
Yep. So I mean, be excited as authors. Books are being sold, but you got to get into that. Either if you have books out, you got to sell them, and if you can get your book out and sell them, we'll do some stuff this year on marketing. Like I think that's a big thing that people are struggling with. I had to talk to an author yesterday that Bethany and I love, and I used to work with her. I don't work with her anymore, but I just called her, check in on her, and see how she's doing. And I said, like, how you doing? Like, there's an opening for marketing. If you're interested. And it was so defeated for a phone call. It's like, I haven't figured that out. And I wouldn't be interested in that. So like, I think that's the problem is everybody I'm talking to is authors are so defeated when it comes to marketing. And I don't think we should be. I think it's easier that we've made it. And I think that it's a new skill. And I think we as a serious writer are going to help this year people market and figure out marketing, because if we can teach you that, you'll love it and you'll have the success you're hoping to have in the way that you're hoping to have it. And I'm seeing people from like foreign countries that barely speak English just raging right now online because their books are going insane and they don't command English well, but they figured out marketing. And so they're able to sell books in America and they're selling them and great. So if they can do it, we can do it. We just got to work together to teach how. So hopefully that's more coming soon.
All right.
Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.